Welcome to another exciting and informative episode of the Entreprenudist Podcast, a place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all. I'm your host, Randolph Love III. And if you have not heard, the third's the word. And we have another great word from another great entrepreneur and business owner on our podcast today. But before we bring them up, I do want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by Shieldwell Strongholds, a wealth growth and protection company. When it comes to estate planning, when it comes to tax mitigation, when it comes to employee benefits, when it comes to life insurance, if your plan ain't Shieldwell, your plan ain't strong. If you're a business owner that wants you and your employees to retire higher than you would have prior, or your taxes at the max and you so stressed you can't relax, make sure you visit shieldwellstrong.com or not call 904-822-4262. And now to our guests. Dan Cosgrove spent over a decade at Procter & Gamble, Berkshire Hathaway, and Nike before he broke away to focus on his passion of healthcare. The first healthcare company he started broke $2.5 million in under 2 years. Now, his nonprofit, Better Benefits USA, was just recognized by Procter & Gamble as one of the top 10 companies run by P&G alumni as they focus on permanently disrupting our broken healthcare system here in America. Welcome to the Entreprenudist Podcast, Dan Cosgrove.
Hey, thank you so much, Randolph. And honestly, I feel like I should make you my hype man because I love listening to that intro. That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm just trying to keep up with all of these well-known brands that you are affiliated with. I'm pretty sure that gets you in a lot of rooms.
It certainly doesn't hurt. That is true.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so of course, I definitely want to talk about your nonprofit and how that's helping a lot of people with our quote unquote broken system. I think there may be a few listeners that may not realize that it's broken or maybe even want your definition of broken. But how did you end up being working for such prominent companies like Procter & Gamble, Berkshire Hathaway, Nike?
I think it's better to be lucky than good. I mean, the backstory on it is I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. P&G is the place to work at if you're growing up there. And so weirdly enough, when I went away to college, I had made it a goal. Actually, I'd made it my goal at like 16 that I was going to work at P&G by the time I finished college. And so I went down to University of Richmond, Virginia. And I had made it my goal to work at P&G. And I applied there after my freshman year to do an internship, rejected. Applied there my sophomore year to do an internship, rejected. Applied there junior year to do an internship, rejected. Senior year, I applied to work there full time, and they rejected me from a few positions. But, as somebody that's focused on making connections, like entrepreneurs need to do that, it was all about networking for me. And fortunately for me, I was able to network with some key opinion leaders there at P&G, and they gave me an opportunity, and the rest is history. P&G took care of me, and really appreciate everything they did for me. But they ultimately sold me to Berkshire Hathaway 5 or 6 years into it, and I had the pleasure of learning how to transition a $2 billion business from one to the next and start that one kind of from scratch. And after that one, I got poached by Nike to be the chief of staff to the CMO over there. And it's just, again, networking and staying connected with people I've met in the past. It's been an interesting ride. But I certainly appreciate everything the corporate world taught me. I will also say I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I'm also German. So Germans like to work off of a schedule. So if you don't believe me, I'm one of 3 kids, and we're all 3 years and 20 days apart.
Wow.
So I'd set a goal after my undergrad to break away and do my own thing in 10 years. So it's 10 years and 1 month. I took a package from Nike to focus on healthcare.
Mm-hmm. And I think I heard a gem that you dropped in, and this may be your reply, but is there nothing that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started?
Man, I honestly don't know. I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. I wish there were so many things that I knew now, but I think kind of the joy of doing what I do and actually enjoying what I do is you learn things along the way. And so I'm not going to beat myself up for not knowing these things as a 20-year-old or an early 30-year-old. I'm just grateful that I eventually did learn them so that I can apply it sooner into everything that I'm trying to do. So I don't wish I learned something earlier. I'm just glad I learned it eventually. And I'm sure there's more things that I need to learn as we continue to progress.
Absolutely. The more you know, the more you know, the more you don't know. Yeah. And the gem that I heard you drop that I think a lot of people who achieve their definition of success learn eventually is about the relationships and keeping up with those relationships. But before we get into what you're doing now, are there no ways that you can share of how to successfully keep up with a relationship? And when I say that, do you put people in tiers? Do you be like, all right, this is a relationship that I definitely want to keep up with? Or do you be like, all right, I treat everybody the same. Everybody gets the same touches. How does that work?
No, certainly. And I mean, honestly, relationships are the new currency. Like that is by far the most important thing out there. Like AI is here, right? AI is not going anywhere. So AI is going to replace a lot of things, but AI cannot replace organic relationships that you've developed over the course of time. Mm-hmm. So relationships are 100% key. Do I tier it? Sure, I tier it. And you know, you can listen to you can listen to the Tony Robbins of the world, and they're just like, yeah, the friends that you had in high school might be different from the friends that you have in college and the friends that you have in the business world, because you're leveling up in different things. And some people don't want to keep leveling up. So yeah, the people that I really want to keep in contact with are also people that are trying to make a difference in the world, whatever that might be. Like their passion might be entirely separate than what mine is. But yeah, I want to work with like-minded individuals that are trying to be movers and shakers and trying to really create a meaningful difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And your touches, is it just an email? Is it just a phone call? Is it monthly? Is it weekly?
It's all over the place. It's all over the place. So I always keep a tracker on, like LinkedIn is my primary platform of me to kind of keep in touch with people. So I always, of course, keep the tracker in on if somebody has a transition in their career, I'm going to try and reach out to them just because it's a life-changing moment. I want to hear about it. If they have their birthday, I always try to do that. Like I started doing that at P&G. The moment I started, I saved every single person's birthday so that I'd be like the first one to email them on their birthday, because everybody likes to be recognized for their birthday, no matter how old they are. Mm-hmm. So I try to do little things like that. So yeah, other times if I know there's somebody that's a Bengals fan like myself, and the Bengals, of course, are, you know, they inevitably do something dumb at least 10 times a year. So those people that I know are Bengals fans, I can text them about how stupid the Bengals are. So it's just like conversations like that. It doesn't always have to be business oriented, because if you're tapping into that person that's a contact every single time just for business, they're eventually going to just start thinking they're being a used source, which I never want them to feel that. So, and I only want to tap into them if I know I can actually bring true value from a business perspective. So yeah, it's just recognizing different things help different people tick, and trying to connect in, like I say, a more organic fashion instead of forcing anything.
Oh yeah, and I agree with you with the birthday thing. I think I first learned it from a book called Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi.
I like that book. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a great book. And he says everybody gets a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, but if you can be the person that's reaching out to them for their birthday, you differentiate yourself. For sure, right?
100%. Yeah, I was actually going to challenge my wife, and she hated the idea. But I was like, you know what? Let's stop doing Christmas cards. Let's do like Christmas in July, because nobody's getting any cards in July. And so
that's a good idea.
I wanted to do it. I mean, I can't take credit for it. Hallmark does their Christmas in July movies. So, you know, I got to steal it from Hallmark.
No, but it's synthetic, man. It's about taking something that exists, putting it with something else that exists, and then bringing it all together. I think Napoleon Hill calls that synthetic. Is it synthetic creativity? It's a word that he uses to where you take things that exist and then create something else that exists. You didn't just pull it out of the ether, but you still use that creative gene. And speaking of differentiators and using that creative gene, what makes your company different, and how are you being creative in this space?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at our healthcare industry in America, most people, if you polled them, would say it's pretty broken. And in fact, my former boss, Warren Buffett, said healthcare is the tapeworm to American businesses. So like that's a really appealing idea, a tapeworm. So anyhow, I found a way into this market of just trying to do good. Because when you look at the industry, it's incentivized to do the wrong thing. And so what I mean by that is like it's a domino effect. But insurance companies, they have to abide by medical loss ratios. Well, the only way the insurance companies can make more profit then is if the expenses for the patients increase, because their profits, you're growing the pie larger. So that's one reason why it's broken. And then you think about the brokers or benefits advisors that are selling to the respective clients and businesses. Well, they're not paid by the business per se. They're actually paid by the insurance company. And oftentimes it's a 5 to 10% commission on monthly insurance premiums. So why do we see continual increases of like 10 to 20% for any client? When it was originally 30%, but they negotiate them down, the insurance brokers aren't really negotiating them down because they're negotiating down their own profits. So like the industry is just so broken. And ultimately, that's why I was like, all right, let's create a nonprofit. Like, and by the way, just because we're a nonprofit doesn't mean we don't make money, but we created what's called a sustainable funding model. So we're only going to get paid if we save clients money, which is a complete 180 from the industry. And guess what? We get paid by the clients, not the insurance companies. So again, now we're really on the same side of the table with them as we try to solve one of America's most wicked problems of mounting healthcare costs for employees and employers. And everybody's just trying to keep up when the revenue is not exceeding the cost of expenses. So yeah, our main differentiator is we're going to get paid based on the savings we generate clients, not how much we convince people to overpay on their healthcare costs.
So, and the insurance companies like this?
No. Show me any company that wants to see their profits shrunk. But end of the day, I don't care about insurance. Like, do I legally have to have my insurance? 100%, or else I wouldn't be able to provide value to my clients. But I don't want to work for the insurance companies. I want to work for the clients. Like, our core goal is closing the gap on care, cost, and coverage for hardworking Americans. My goal is not to line the pockets of more insurance company executives. That's not my goal. I don't care about them. Do I have to occasionally use their products? 100%, because I'm not telling people to be uninsured. I'm just helping people essentially buy their healthcare for a fraction of what they're currently doing.
And that sounds like a worthwhile endeavor, right? Does it feel like you're chasing windmills sometime, or does it feel like very it's a Don Quixote reference for anybody that's listening. But does it feel like you're making traction?
We're making traction, but as any entrepreneur would say, it's always going to come with roadblocks that you have to clear. And once you clear that, when you think it's over, then another one pops up and another one pops up. So truth be told, we are battling against a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So they're not going to go down without swinging. And they're the ones that control, again, the relationships with clients. So it's truthfully very hard to get our foot in the door with a client to say, hey, did you know for the last 20 to 30 years, you've essentially been being lied to on how to purchase your healthcare and that you're overpaying roughly by $2,000 to $3,000 a year per employee? Most people aren't going to believe that. They're just going to think it's like, this person's full of it. So honestly, it is very tough to do it. But when we do get our opportunity, we can show the value, and we've been able to deliver the value to clients. It's just harder to come by because, again, change is hard. Change has always been difficult, and nobody has ever been fired for sticking with the status quo. So as a result of it, if you just want to deal with a 20% increase and you're in HR, that's actually the safer play to do, unless the business owners are willing to say, hey, no, I want to change things. I specifically challenge you, HR person, go out there and find a way to do it. You're not going to get fired if it fails. And until you get that endorsement at the executive level, you're not going to get any change at a company. Oh, yeah.
And change is very hard. There used to be a show called Hell on Wheels. I don't know if you ever seen that show.
No.
Well, basically, it was about how the railroad went from east to west. and that required a lot of change, right?
Sure.
And a lot of people's domiciles getting taken over, and a lot of this, that, and the third. And back then, the change agents, because corporations still use that term change agent today, like this is a change agent. But back then, the change agents carried guns, and it gave a new meaning to getting fired if you weren't open to change, right? Are you a B2C company or a B2B company?
We are more B2B. Now, if somebody calls me up and they're a one-person entrepreneur and they're just trying to figure out how to set themselves up properly so that they can pursue their entrepreneurial venture while managing their cash burn, I can certainly advise them there. I will never turn somebody away. But yeah, we are focused very much so on B2B.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I've heard and then experienced is whether it's B2B or B2C is always P2P. Yep. Whether it's business to consumer or business to business is always person to person. How do you, let me ask, is there nothing that you brought from your experience with your prior companies that allow you to get to that person to person point of having that conversation with the decision maker? Because a lot of people can't get past the gatekeeper. Have you figured out a way to get past the gatekeeper?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, fortunately for me, I have a strong alumni network of these companies. So oftentimes it's less of a getting past the gatekeeper. It's more so getting them to want to take the time to talk about it. And again, we know at the larger companies we try to pursue, it's not one person making that decision. So even if we have one person that we know, there's still 5 other people at the table that have to say, yes, I want to do this. And you can't control the opinions of all those other people. So ultimately, yeah, we can get past the gatekeeper. That part is not the problem. It is trying to influence opinions in a market where, again, we see it with political campaigns. There's a whole bunch of mudslinging out there. So who's going to win in a marketing war when trying to control the information for a client? The group that has over $1 billion or $1 trillion in their industry to control the narrative, or a small nonprofit? The answer is the insurance companies are going to win. So it's only people that are truthfully willing to say, yeah, it's broken, I want to be a part of the change, that are willing to actually take the chance on trying something new.
Okay. So, and once again, I guess it all depends on what your definition of win is, right? Because, really, your brain is picking up what you deem is important, and you typically are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So even if the rest of the world doesn't realize that the system is broken and then decide to fix it, you and your company can change your world to where it seems like the problem was fixed in whole, but really and truly it's because it was fixed in your company. Sure. How do you articulate that you're able to save a company anywhere from $500 to $3,000 per employee? So I'm imagining a company that has 100 employees. If you save them $3,000 per employee, what's 3,000 times? What is that? 300,000? Is that 30,000 or 300,000?
300,000.
Wow, that's a lot. How do you articulate how you're able to do that? Because I know a business owner is you can tell them what you're going to do, but a smart, savvy business owner is going to ask you, how are you doing it?
Yeah. Well, first off, so let's think about, let's play off that 100-person company example. So we know healthcare is not a sexy topic. If it was a sexy topic, we wouldn't have these issues right now. And so the executives at most companies, they want to focus on the marketing, the sales, the expansion efforts, the scaling, all that fun stuff. They don't want to get in a room and try and figure out how to solve health insurance. So who are they going to pass it off to? HR? HR doesn't do any math. HR is then going to send it to a benefits advisor. And we already just covered the benefits advisor is paid by the insurance company. So you're going to get what you ultimately focus on. So how do we now change that conversation at the executive level so that they view healthcare as a sexy topic? Well, if you have a 100-person company, we can save you $3,000 a year per employee. That's $300,000. And let's just pretend most companies are operating at a 10% profit margin. So if we're about to save them $300,000 in profit on a 10% profit margin, that means we just found them a $3 million sales opportunity. So as we talk to those businesses, we're then just like, how many $3 million sales opportunities do you have sitting around in your pipeline? Right. And it's much harder to get a client to say yes to a $3 million thing than you just looking internally at what you're doing with your own processes to better understand how you can boost your profit by a significant multiple.
Yeah, and I know, and that's very fair. I know when dealing with high ticket sales, I guess the first question you ask is, what are you doing? The second question you ask is, what's broken about it? And then the third question you ask is, what would happen if you keep doing it the way that you're currently doing it? If they don't know is broken, do you is a big part of your sales cycle education?
100%. That's why we don't even do like a sales push. We say, hey, we'll do a free employee audit for you, or employee benefits audit. And then we just say that's part of our nonprofit, because we know most people would, charge 10 to 15K to do employee benefits audit. We're just like, no, again, if we prove our value, we're going to more than make our money in a fair terms as an ongoing basis. So the easiest thing is giving something away for free, and the employer doesn't have to do anything. They legitimately just have to say, all right, here's our current employee benefits booklet. Have a look at it. Here's our current employee benefits costs. Here's all the plans that we're trying to do. Our team will do the analysis, and we'll come back and we'll find like, yeah, you guys are doing a fantastic job on these 3 things. These other 3 things are and these other 4 things are absolutely terrible and a major risk for you guys. And that will help us guide the conversation on what they should actually be focusing on.
So essentially the lead magnet is the employee benefits audit, which people who are in that business typically, did you say they charge anywhere from 15,000?
Yeah, 10 to 15K. If you get to bigger companies, then you could always, hire McKinsey, Bain, and BCG, and they'll gladly charge you $500,000 to tell you the exact same stuff that we're going to tell you. So it all really kind of depends upon it. But yeah, for us, we don't want to charge fees for something like that. We know we're going to find value, and we're going to take a percentage of the savings on the value.
Oh yeah, and for a company, it sounds like, especially if you're on the board and you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. It sounds like if they engage with a company like yours, even if they never choose to move forward, that employee benefits audit is something that they can show that, hey, we're actively looking for ways to save the company money and increase our profit margin.
Yeah, for sure. And like, as we think about this, because, we work with some nonprofits and for-profit entities, but like, as I think about it for more nonprofits, since I run this nonprofit, and I also have a different nonprofit focused on the mental health space. If I'm ever going to ask for money from charitable donors, I want to make sure my own backyard is cleaned up. And so like these nonprofits, I'll give you an example here. A nonprofit, I think I have like 150 employees in New York. And we were looking at their benefits plan, and they're a client of ours. And so I was looking at their benefits plan a little bit more. It's like, guys, you're overpaying on your health insurance by about $500,000. And they're like, oh, how's that possible? Like, and so I like walk them through all these various dynamics, which if we have more time, I'll unpack how we can like find those savings for people. But at the end of the day, like, they actually didn't say yes to trying to save the $500,000 this year. Now, next year it's changing because they finally recognize that, okay, yeah, we should be doing this. But like, if you're a nonprofit and you have that much money just sitting around, how can you honestly go and ask a charitable donor for money if that extra $500,000 was sitting right there, and instead of you actually trying to save it, you just gave it to the insurance companies? I would want that $500,000 that I'm making a charitable donation on to actually go towards the programs that I care about if I'm a charitable donor. So like, if you're a nonprofit, this is by far the area you should be focusing on, because employee benefits costs are the second biggest line item, only behind salary and wages. Like, that's it. So really focus on cleaning up your backyard before you ever go out and try and get money from charitable donors, because if you don't have it cleaned up, you're just giving that money away to the wrong causes.
Absolutely. And then once you become aware of it, that's where the potential negligence can begin.
Yep.
Because I know I speak with people who are professional board members,
Yep.
be it for profit or nonprofit,
Yep.
and in both of those instances, you definitely want what they call it, directors and officers insurance.
Mhm.
It's in their best interest to engage a company like yours, because if you don't, and the nonprofit or the company can show that you went years, maybe even decades, overpaying, and you never took any steps to make sure you could be putting yourself at risk, liable risk, if you're one of the directors of those companies.
Exactly. A fiduciary responsibility. You have a fiduciary responsibility to your people. And if you're not taking care of your people, you could get some disgruntled employees when they leave that are willing to file suits. And you can look up some major corporations in the last 3 to 4 years that have filed major suits against their employers because they completely butchered their healthcare plans.
Okay. So, what are some other watch outs for creative approaches like this? Because it's great to be creative, right? Yep. But you also want to make sure that you have some type of SOPs in place, which I'm assuming you do. What are some watch outs when it comes to this type of approach?
Yeah. So truthfully, how do people make money? And I got to try. Let's go back to the 2008 financial crisis. How are people making so much money on those mortgage-backed securities and everything else going on? Do you know how they're making money?
Well, they called it. Does it have anything to do with the new term subprime, meaning not qualified?
They were, yeah. For simplicity's sake, they were making money off of confusion in the system. Mm-hmm. Simple as that. So it's how
subprime.
Are people? Yeah. So you have all these people throwing out this jargon, and they have no idea what the hell they're talking about, but nobody has any idea what they're talking about. And so as a result of it, people were able to just get away with just highway robbery during those times. What's going on with our healthcare system? It is the same amount of confusion as the 2008 financial crisis. I truthfully believe our healthcare system is the new 2008 financial crisis in terms of real estate. So you have so much confusion. So as a result of it, people's brains just shut down because a confused mind says no. So what are the issues or challenges or the flags, the things that people must be concerned about is when you're trying to roll out something new, not only do you as the employer, because you have the fiduciary responsibility, need to understand it and do proper due diligence. Now you need to make sure your employees understand it too. And most employees, they just hate their healthcare, but they don't understand the mechanics of it. So you do have to spend time, a lot of time on the education to employees and helping them better understand, like, you're going to get better benefits at a fraction of the cost. And here's how we're going to do it. And does this require people to change their habits or behavior? 100%. Because again, change is never easy. But if you're able to tell those employees, yeah, we're also going to save you a couple $1,000s in addition to your employer saving a couple $1,000, now they might actually have that financial incentive to be willing to change. But yeah, it all goes back to change management. How do you communicate that? Because that's by far the biggest issue out there in such a confusing system that is our healthcare industry.
Okay. And of course, if you tell anybody that you're going to save them money, I'm assuming they like it. But in your experience, how do the employees view this type of change?
Really depends. So do employees like the benefits? 100%. But oftentimes, and we've got different solutions for different plans. But one plan, for instance, is a plan that we are using a Section 125 plan on, which means it's active in the employee's paycheck. And there are things you can do where you can reduce somebody's taxable income, meaning you're having pre-tax deductions, just like if you did a 401k or HSA or FSA or health insurance. Those are all pre-tax deductions. So we're creating pre-tax deductions for these employees. We're generating claim payments or insurance reimbursements, whatever you want to call it. But for most people with the untrained eye, they see, wait a second, my pre-tax deduction was, I'll just make it up, $600. Now, I got $500 back from participating in all these programs, but it cost me $100 to be in these programs. Like, I want out. Because again, most people, although we focus on preventative healthcare and just providing better healthcare benefits for every single person, at the end of the day, most people are living paycheck to paycheck. So the primary concern for them is financial. So helping them understand, okay, yeah, did it cost you money? Yes. All forms of insurance cost you money. Did you get benefits back from it? Yes, you did. But is there a third variable that you're not factoring in that could impact your decision to stay in or off that plan? 100%. And that's the part that is most overlooked for most employees on one of our plans, which is reducing their taxable income. They're reducing how much they're paying in taxes. And oftentimes when you stack the amount they save in taxes, plus they get back from the insurance, it's on average maybe $100 or more a month that they're seeing as a net pay increase in addition to better benefits. So like, again, that's confusing. What I just explained there is confusing. So like we always have to provide visuals and we show people their side-by-side paychecks and everything like that. But at the end of the day, we know most Americans, unfortunately, are not financially sophisticated. So we have to simplify it down so that they understand that this is in their best interest, not just financially, but more importantly, healthcare wise, because we don't want people, we don't want any more people, since there's 1 million people every single year that file for personal bankruptcy due to out of control healthcare expenses. We want to shrink that number. And the way we can do that is by giving people better access to preventative healthcare benefits, in addition to like safety nets to protect their out-of-pocket exposures in the event that life happens in terms of healthcare. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle. We're working our best to help people, but again, they have to have an open mind. And if they're just going to say, oh, no, I really like my broker, I'm going to stick with them, and we're going to deal with the 12% increase this year, we're not the right group. Now, if you have brokers listening right now, brokers, we work with brokers. We really serve as the advisor in the situation. So we're not coming for your clients. We're actually helping you better take care of your current clients and help you maybe capture more clients from brokers that are not thinking about solutions in a more innovative way.
And the term broker was always very interesting term. I don't know how they. So you're broker when you mess with me? Is that what you're trying to say? But so and I definitely would. I am an insurance agent. I am licensed with health insurance, life insurance, annuities, and all that good stuff. But I also have heard about the Section 125. It benefits a lot of people, and they are, from what I saw in the 30,000 foot overview conversations I had, they are incentivized to actually use it to be proactive about their health. And I think it might even be the person who uses it actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, the person who actually uses it saves more than the person who doesn't. Or is that and that, once again, that's counterintuitive to the industry that as it is currently.
Yeah. So think about that. Most Americans are on probably a high deductible plan now, because that's the only way to make a premium affordable. So let's just make it up. They're on a $3,000 deductible, meaning they have to pay the first $3,000 out of pocket before insurance contributes anything. Well, if now you're given access to a preventative care plan that is, 24/7 virtual healthcare for the entire family, an accident plan that covers the out-of-pocket medical expenses, prescription coverage that's going to cover like 90+% of all drugs in America. If you are able to basically buy into the Netflix model of healthcare, and what I mean by that is whether you watch one show on Netflix or 100 shows on Netflix, you're still paying the same price, right? So where the puck is going in healthcare is from this very broken fee-based system where truthfully they almost need to keep people sick or injured because they make more money off of that, to a value-based care system where they're actually incentivized in a proactive manner on a subscription-like basis to help people manage that little symptom when it's still a little symptom, so it doesn't turn into a major medical condition. And so that's what we're really providing here is value-based care. So if you think about that, 80% of medical needs can be covered virtually now. So if you are somebody with a $3,000 deductible, well, 8 out of 10 of your medical visits can probably be avoided with our subscription basis, meaning you might only incur maybe $1,000 of true out-of-pocket medical expenses that year instead of $2,000 or $3,000. So there's additional savings that the individual can get just by avoiding their own major medical expenses.
Is there a question that I did not ask you that I should have?
Let's think about this. Why aren't more people doing it? I think we hit that as to, they just don't know.
And change is scary.
change is scary. If I'm going to be blunt, and I'll be very blunt, the first thing when we talk about fear, they'll talk about, well, the IRS says you can't do these plans. And I always say, you're right. The IRS says you can't do non-compliant plans. We're very much a compliant plan. But people immediately, again, shut down. And they also have a great misunderstanding. And again, some of our plans are just extremely cut and dry. Like a MERP and ICRA, people understand those. Like in HSA, people understand those. People understand, they should understand a Section 127, which is an educational assistance program. It's student loans. It's helping with student loan forgiveness. Or Section 129, which helps with early childhood development and support. Like those plans should be more clear, but people may not know about them. But like the ones with the question marks around it are where the IRS puts out their memos and say, hey, you can't do this. You can't do this. And I always say, well, have you really read it? Because what the IRS is trying to shut down is bad actors. And I'm fully supportive of that. I don't want crap in the industry because it makes it harder to actually help people. Now, what I also try to help people understand is the IRS, like you and I, they're putting out memos, which equal opinions. We can each have an opinion. It does not make it a legal rule. But people, again, think the IRS has the power to change law. No, they cannot. Who can change a law in this country? Congress. And show me any Republican or Democrat that thinks it's in their best interest to get reelected to make healthcare even worse in America. So with how the tax law is actually written, when you read the actual tax law and not the opinions, you can do these programs. But if you do it in a compliant fashion. So like that's where most people, again, where they assess their risk, they're like, oh, I can't do this. No, you can, but you have to do it the right way. And we are never going to advertise a way to do it in the incorrect way.
Okay. So I guess that brings up one last question.
Sure.
How do you articulate or convey that you are operating compliantly?
I mean, we've got the clients to talk about it. We've got attorneys' opinions to talk about it, of course. We've got Department of Insurance approvals in the respective states that most of our clients operate. I think we're in 40 states now approved by their own state Department of Insurance. It's like we can go through a laundry list of due diligence. I mean, hell, we even used, since I mentioned AI at the top, have you ever heard of Accordance AI?
I have not.
It's very interesting. So Accordance AI is basically the tool used for CPAs and tax attorneys as like their back office to do all the research on things to better help their clients. So what we actually did is we took our plan, because we know AI can have hallucinations, but more or less AI is going to give you objective facts versus the opinions that people will pull up. And so we plugged our plans into Accordance AI and had it compared against, AFLAC, Allstate, some pretty well-known groups out there that are like 90% market share for the specific product that we're looking at. And funny enough, Accordance AI, and we prompted it 3 different times to make sure it wasn't a hallucination. And all 3 times it came out with the same results. It said our plan, and I'm never saying anything in insurance is risk-free, because if not, it wouldn't be insurance. So is there a risk? Sure. But our risk is actually a lower risk than that of AFLAC and Allstate, which have been around for years. So again, it's all the messaging and understanding it. But at the end of the day, if people want us to take them down the rabbit hole of like how you can get to due diligence and feel comfortable about doing these programs, we're happy to take them there. But like that was the bigger challenge 3 or 4 years ago when people were just like, there's no way in hell you can do this. Now it's pretty damn clear that you can do it if you're just listening to the right people and again, doing it in a compliant fashion.
Absolutely. What books, fiction or nonfiction, should everybody read?
Hey, if you're an entrepreneur, man, so this one's a nerdy one. Tax-Free Wealth Strategy by Tom Wheelwright. It's a pretty good book. He's the CPA for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is, of course, another great book for people to read. So like that, the Tax-Free Wealth Strategy book is what prompted me. I think I read it like 7 years or so ago. It prompted me to challenge the status quo. Because ultimately, when we bring these things to companies, oftentimes we're leveraging the tax code to bring them better benefits. Like that's how we're able to do it. So like that book I love, of course, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I love that one. I I'm a big fan of Alex Hormozy, so I like reading a lot of his books. So people should check that out, especially if they're an entrepreneur. They can join his school group. Like he's even got his own AI system too. So like I like Hormozy books. Yeah, it's even like if you want to understand like your own temperament and talents, convictions, like Strengths Finder and things like that. So I'm all over the place. I used to be a heavy reader. Now with the the toddler and the 5-month-old, it's more so listening to things than actually getting to read things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I double down. I listen to the book while I'm reading it.
I like that.
I know, depending on what your goal is, I'm typically a nonfiction reader. Yeah. And usually my goal is to get this information in me. And I know that I'm only retaining 8 to 10% each read. But when I listen to it while reading it, it increases that upload possibility.
100%. Yeah.
Nah, that's good, man.
I personally like to read on my iPad just because I can highlight while I go. And then I read the highlights at the end so that I can do a refresh and knowing that those highlights are always going to be there. So that's the way that I try and retain it. And then if it's really important, then I'll copy and paste it into my notes. And since I have a MacBook, the notes sync up so that I can immediately have it there too. So if I'm going to read something, I'm going to make sure I'm going to retain as much as humanly possible, or else it's pointless to read.
Oh yeah, and the power of those notes, man. I don't think a lot of people understand the power of notes, to where even if you never go back to reread those notes, the fact that you took notes made it even more sticky.
Absolutely.
And speaking of sticky, we want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you, and that this information doesn't just fall away. One more time, let everybody know who you are, what do you do, and how they can get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. So the name's Dan Cosgrove. We run a nonprofit called Better Benefits USA. So there's a few ways you can get in touch with me. First, LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. That is the only place that I really post materials. So you can just find me. It's Dan Cosgrove. I've got a family emoji in front of it. And then you can find us at betterbenefitsusa.org. Or if you actually want to do an audit yourself, you can go to findbetterbenefits.org. So that is our sister website where you can input the information, and that will go to our back office team. Our team will do the analysis and reach out to you and say, hey, here's the opportunity sitting out there for you as a company. So betterbenefitsusa.org is the place to find us.
And I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you via LinkedIn. I know some internal revenue codes that I think I might be able to partner with a nonprofit that's doing good things in the space. Because I know the founder. I can get past the gatekeeper. This has been another informative episode of the Entreprenudist Podcast, the place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all. Once again, I'm your host, life strategist and retirement planner, Randolph Love III. And until next time, don't play with it, stay with it until you make pay with it. This is the Entreprenudist Podcast, signing off.